talk about we just turned the pool.
Twyla pointed out that we are supposed to put a date on that.
Okay.
Dan said it was July
How
1st.
to stop a thermostat.
Chris, no.
I guess this is July 1st, 2014.
Twyla pointed out that we're supposed to put a date on that.
Guess we all wanted to know.
Open here, yeah.
They all suggested we put July 1st. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and add that one.
A little chilly?
Well, this is
Don't worry, he'll heat up.
All right. Councilors ready?
different than that, so
Ready? All right.
this is a go.
Call this meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please, Twyla.
Counselor Garrison, are you expecting him to be absent tonight?
Yes, he's excused.
Okay. Counselor Lunt?
Here?
Counselor McTevier?
Here.
Counselor Beckford?
Here.
Counselor Ward?
Here.
Counselor Pesky?
Here.
And Counselor Brunel?
Here.
Thank you. First item, Twyla?
Is under good news and recognition.
Anyone have anything new?
I had the opportunity to attend the Moxie Festival Committee meeting today. They have a lot of great stuff going, a lot of exciting things, and a lot of energy in that committee. So it was nice to see.
You're doing a good job. Anybody else? Okay. Next item, please, Twyla.
Is public hearings on an itinerant vendor permit for Miles Dorvac doing business as Southwestern Advantage.
I'll open this hearing. Do we have anyone to speak? Is Mr. Dvorak here?
He was invited.
Okay. Seeing no one, we'll close the hearing. Next item, please.
Is audience participation for agenda items.
Do we have anyone?
Dot Fitzgerald, Lisbon Falls. I'm sorry. I was looking for the paperwork. The sidewalk on Davis Street, $30,000, our participation in that. To complete the trail, the sidewalk on Davis Street, how much is the town to participate in that? Is that $30,000?
Dot, we're going to wait until you're done with your questions and comments,
Okay.
and then we'll address it all at once.
With all of the other things that we need in town, roads and everything else, a public works building, the 2 bonds for the school projects, I just don't think that this is the right time to do a sidewalk on a street that doesn't get a lot of traffic. $30,000 can be put to better use.
Thank you. Good.
My name is Richard Nettle, Lisbon Falls. I agree with Dot. I don't think we need to spend any money to put a sidewalk in there because it is a slow road. Another thing is, particularly in the wintertime, when there's a trailer over there that I know of, and there's 3 cars parked, and when the third one is parked, because there's not much land there, it's right to the road. And I don't know what they would have to be able to do. I mean, the snow takes so much room, and I just, if we can save 30,000, I'd like to say us save 30,000 over there rather than spend it. It's just, I agree with Doc. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Netto.
Just a quick question regarding your amended ordinance fee schedule. It's first read. I'm assuming this runs like ours, that you have another read after that, that these are just kind of discussion points. Is that correct? Okay, thanks.
If there's no one else, we'll move on to the next item.
Audience participation response.
Dale, would you like to clarify the $30,000?
I hate to ask you to do this, Ryan, but I don't know the actual cost of the Davis Street sidewalk.
You want to discuss it during the item, or do you want to answer that?
If you have a Reader's Digest version, just so we can respond to
I know
Mrs. Fitzgerald.
$30,000 more is needed to complete the entire grant, but I'm not sure if that's the cost of the sidewalk.
How much, let's do this. Do you know how much it costs to put the sidewalk in?
The sidewalk, as part of the trail bid that we received, is $46,000. Portion of that is stormwater related that needs to be done as part, and to meet the permit that we were given by the DEP. In addition, there was, the $30,000 is not just for the sidewalk, it's to go to finish the rest of the trail, and is matching funds for $80,000 that we're going to receive on top of that.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
I think that does it. Next item, please, Twyla.
Is the consent agenda. Any counselor wishing to have any item removed may do so now. Seeing none, order 2014-107 to approve an itinerant vendor permit for Miles Dorvac doing business as Southwestern Advantage, and waiving the fee, and to approve the minutes of June 3rd and June 17th, 2014.
Twyla, are you able to provide a little insight for those who don't have entire packets?
Oh, on the waiver of the fee?
Right.
Okay. Yes, we consulted with the Maine Municipal Association attorneys and our own attorneys, and we found that Mr. Norvac has, it says here, since Congress has the sole power to regulate commerce, any efforts on the part of the states to restrict free trade between the states are unconstitutional, and so charging a fee would be restrictive.
Because he's actually working for a company that's from another state.
That's right. The magazines come from Nashville, Tennessee, although the company is in a different state as well.
Okay.
So we are well within our right to ask for the application and to process that, but they recommend to waive the fee.
Okay. Any discussion from council? So we're looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll make that motion.
All those in favor?
Need a second?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Second.
Thank you, Eric. All those in favor?
Order passed 6-0.
Next item, please, Twyla.
Is under council orders, ordinances, and resolutions. Order 2014-108, the truck bid acceptance.
Okay. And Ryan, did you want to say a few words about this?
In your packets, you had the bid specification as well as the results. We did receive 4 bids. We sent it out to 7 or 8 vendors and received 4 bids. Low bid was Morrison Sylvester for an international at $80,645. The next one was Freightliner of Maine at $80,939. Then Whited Truck Center for a Peterbilt at $82,745, and O'Connor GMC for a Western Star at $87,392. And based on the research we did, contacting other communities, we're recommending that we purchase the Peterbilt. It had the best reputation from all those that we discussed it with. Whited Truck Centers in Auburn for any warranty issues or whatnot. And based on what the anticipated budget of a lease payment, there's enough money in there to justify a lease payment, because I'd also request that you allow us to purchase the extended warranty. We can buy an extended warranty on the whole truck for 5 years, 100,000 miles. That will basically cover us for the entire time that we're financed, and all that would fall within the lease purchase payment that's currently in the budget.
Questions from council?
How much is that additional extended warranty?
It's about $5,000, and it covers everything: motor, transmission, rear end, everything.
That's above the price that we got here, right?
Correct.
And are we paying them to install the plow and the bed?
No, that's another bid specification that we're working on right now to advertise. Wanted to know what truck we were going to be putting it on, so that way we could tell the various vendors that will bid on that what truck they can plan on installing all their equipment
Do you
on.
have any idea what that's going to be?
The original estimate that we got during the whole fire process was around $45,000, and we have a $48,000 check from the insurance company that we've been waiting to use.
That's just the labor to do that work, or?
That is the dump body, hydraulic system, it's basically everything that was in the cab that needs to be replaced, plow, wing, the whole 9 yards. And what we plan to do is put the bid specification out in a way that we can get different prices on the options, so that way if we can't afford to do something, we can pick which item we'll have to defer to another time.
I know this, this total comes to almost $3,000 over our original estimate, and then we add another $5,000 to it, so that brings it up to almost $88,000. So I know that you've spent a lot of time looking over the paperwork and looking into the pros and cons. Can you give us your opinion on, why we should go with this bid instead of one of the others? I mean, what things led you to that
No,
decision?
that's fine, without trying to bash anyone.
Yeah.
International, this version is the first model year with new equipment, new emissions control equipment and whatnot. The 2008 International we have currently was the same deal, first model year, and has been terrible. We probably spend more money on that than any of the Sterlings that we've had since 2001. And I'm just guessing. I'd have to go actually run the numbers to know for sure. Freightliner, it really came down once we got the bids between Freightliner and the Peterbilt from Whited. And we've been to 4 different municipalities, had conversations with some private industries as well. There's some municipalities that we've talked to that are putting together a bid spec right now for new trucks, and they're specifically making sure the bid spec will not allow Freightliner to bid, based on they've got new Freightliners that they've had problems with. So again, all the feedback that we got from all the different places we went, some of them have got both. I mean, Auburn is all international, and that's what they swear by, but Morrison Sylvester is right next door. I don't know if they get treated better or what, but we've just not had good luck with the international we have, so we're really leery of going for a new model year. And there was some warranty issues that some folks had with the Freightliner, and just, again, everything was pointing in the direction that the Peterbilt for a couple $1,000s more was the best option for us moving forward.
Any other questions from council? Thank you, Ryan. So we have the truck bid. Ryan, are you asking us to add $5,000 to this number for the warranty at this time? I'm sorry, I should have asked while you were still up here.
I guess it's up to you how you'd like to proceed. Our recommendation, like I said, is to move forward with the Peterbilt with the extended warranty, and where we're doing a lease purchase agreement. I don't know if you need to give us a specific dollar figure to award, unless you just want to award the truck with the purchase, with the extended warranty, with the idea that it won't exceed the financing that we budgeted. And talking to Jessica today, the amount of money that we had in the budget with the warranty and everything else, we're still going to be all right with that for 5 years.
Do you have a rough idea of what the breakdown per year over that 5-year period is of what we actually will be paying out?
It's between 19 and 21,000.
Okay.
How much did we budget this, or are we planning to budget this year?
21,000?
21? Okay.
Thanks, I think that's what we needed. Thanks.
Okay. The suggestion is to add the 5,000 to the truck bid acceptance.
That's an estimate, too, by the way.
An estimate, the 5,000 is an estimate?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can we purchase it later?
I believe we can purchase some of the components within the first 6 months, but I think we'd want to wrap the whole thing into our lease purchase, with whatever institution we use.
Just go with the whole thing.
So Councilor Bickford is suggesting that we bundle the warranty with the truck bid. So we'll look for a motion to accept the truck bid with the extended warranty.
I'll make that motion for the truck bid of $82,743 and with an extended warranty of $5,000.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Okay. All those in favor?
Order passed 6-0.
Thank you.
Thanks. Next item, please, Twyla.
Order 2014-109 to adopt an amended fee schedule. This is a first reading. Roll call vote is required.
Okay. So we have in front of us a new fee schedule. Did we have anyone to, did you want to say anything or have anyone who needs to say anything about it?
Jessica and I were going to
Okay.
give a joint presentation, but at
All right.
the last council meeting last week, the council asked that staff attempt to find an additional $35,000 in either budget reductions or revenue increases to help lower the tax rate, projected tax rate increase. And so staff and I sat down for the best part of a single day and went through the fee schedule. And my goal was to make sure that the fees that we're charging reflect the effort put into providing the service. In other words, our fees should not be so low that the general taxpayer has to subsidize those fees. So you'll find as you go through the schedule, I'm not going to go through it line by line, but many of the fees did not change. Some did based on what we felt our costs were in either issuing permits, doing inspections, or what have you. We also learned in going through this process that, and I'm going to point specifically to parking fees and fines, that the fee schedule did not reflect the current fines being issued by public safety. And so even though, if you, there that's the page 12, you'll see that all the fees have been increased, but they're reflecting the current fee structure. The fee schedule apparently was never updated when the fines were increased for parking violations and other types of violations. The solid waste fees, you'll look at those. We spent a lot of time talking about those and did not increase any of them. We felt that the current fees were reflective of cost. So having gone through this process, we determined that about $21,000 additional dollars could be raised if you adjust your fee schedule. Fee schedule hasn't been adjusted for years. In the town that I managed before coming here on an interim basis, we reviewed and updated the fee schedule every other year. So it's been years since you've done that in Lisbon. So I was told. The other thing that we found in the fee schedule that we're researching is that there's revenue that's supposed to be coming in from leased parking spaces. And but we are collecting no revenue from leased parking spaces, but you have a fee structure. And apparently that's related to a lot in the Falls. And if you go down to that lot, it's a town-owned lot or partially town-owned, and you'll see that there are spaces allocated to different businesses. So apparently the town at some point in the past entered into a lease arrangement with those businesses, but those businesses aren't being billed. So I was told this goes back to the Feeney era, and I'm not sure who Mr. Feeney was or how long it's been, but was he a town planner or?
He's gone, that's what's important.
He's gone. Well, he's gone. But anyway, we're digging into that. Dennis is doing the research. He's put a folder on my desk. I'm not going to get to it in the day I have remaining as the interim manager. So I'll be explaining this and passing this on to your new manager on Monday.
Dale, were there any particular places where, I mean, for instance, I noticed under the licensing, the liquor license processing fee, we used to charge nothing, and now we charge 100. Is that another example of, we've never charged for a liquor license in the town? Okay.
Right.
So I think a lot of these, and these numbers went, so this goes from $0 to $100.
Right.
But these numbers reflect other towns around us.
Well,
Auburn is paying 100.
they do, and I believe the liquor license fee is established by statute. So,
state fee is.
but it's a, yes. So the other thing I'm remembering is we went through this process, and now I've lost it. I'll remember it. I hate it when that happens. But when you get as old as I am, that happens all the time. There was another point I was going to make, and I'm going to flip through this and see if I can get it back in my head. Waste haulers. You currently take your waste to Auburn, to, I forget the name of the plant. And I know that somewhere in the files, the town of Lisbon has a waste hauling agreement. And my guess is that's a standard agreement. I was on the Regional Waste Systems Board of Directors years ago when all these plants were developed. And we all went through the same process, and waste handling agreements were approved by the town, by town after town after town, and you had to decide which facility you were going to join. Was it going to be RWS, which is now EcoMaine? Was it going to be the plant in Auburn? Was it going to be PERC in Bangor? There are others around the state. And so I know you adopted, Lisbon did a waste handling agreement, and I've yet to find it, but I know it's somewhere in the files, the archives. And my guess is that's a standard waste handling agreement that requires that you deliver your waste to Auburn. You're required to take it there. What I find is no ordinance, waste hauling ordinance at all that supports the requirement that all your waste goes to Auburn. And also, if you had a waste handling agreement and solid waste ordinance in place, you would have certain restrictions in there. Your regional haulers, Triano and Pine Tree, who work in this town, my guess is because you have no ordinance on the books, when they come to your town to collect waste, they're probably not coming with an empty load. And they probably have waste in their vehicles from other communities that they've come through to get to your community. And then they're probably delivering that waste to Auburn, and when they deliver it to Auburn, they're probably saying this is Lisbon's waste, because your waste is totally uncontrolled. So my guess is your tipping fees include waste from other communities. Now, if you had the proper ordinance in place, that shouldn't be happening. In Freeport, for instance, when they start collecting in Freeport, they have to start with an empty vehicle. They can only take Freeport waste to regional waste systems. They can't stop in Yarmouth or Cumberland on the way south and pick up more waste. And they like to do that because they like to have a full load when they get to the plant. It's economically advantageous to them. So what I did is I put some waste hauling fees in here, and you can differentiate between a regional hauler and a local hauler. So for the local haulers, I put in a $250 fee. For a regional hauler, $750. Now I can tell you that the regional haulers, when they're sent a packet, which I'll provide before I leave to the new manager, asking them to fill it out, send their form in, along with their $750, that's not going to be an issue for them whatsoever, because they're paying at least that much, if not more, in other towns that they service. And they're probably quite pleased that Lisbon's not charging them anything, or really regulating your waste. The local haulers are going to be charged $250. And what your new manager is going to have to do is now develop a solid waste ordinance that's going to support the fees. These fees will not go into effect until January 1. There's lots of time to develop the proper regulations and ordinance to support the fees. But you need to do that. My guess is when you do that, your waste stream, your tipping fee bill will drop. Because if you're unregulated, at least the regional haulers know that, and they know how to manipulate that. I can tell you. They do.
Can you tell me again how much savings just the change in the fee schedule?
$21,000 in additional revenue,
Okay.
based on,
That's an estimate.
that's an estimate.
Is that based on the January to June, or is that based on?
No, that was based on July to June. Yeah, and we think our estimates were conservative. I think that if we had had more time to really dig further into the fee structure you have and compare it to other communities around you, we would have come up with more revenue. Even the proposed fee schedule in comparison is quite low compared to other communities around you.
Thank you.
Do you know the last date that this was looked at?
Chief, how long have you been charging your current parking fees? How many?
That update is in the ordinance for the new parking fee.
I understand that, but how long have you been charging the fees that are not supported?
It would be underneath the language.
308, somewhere in there, maybe.
Oh,
Maybe
okay.
7, 8.
Yeah, we're seeing 2008 being the most recent. Okay, yeah, I see. And before that, it's 07, 06, 02. So it looks to me like you haven't looked at the schedule for 6 years.
It's interesting. One of the things I looked at was on page 6 for school field trips. If I'm reading this correctly, the old one, half the fee the school collects, and now the new one is $2 per person. Now, does that mean the school pays us when they go on a field trip?
I think to the park,
To the park?
because it's under our parks.
Okay.
I think that must be.
I don't think that's not related to school, is it?
So,
Oh.
because under Parks and Recreation, it's only when they go to Beaver Park?
Right, that's just the new park fee for school. They have their, I just know this because I did an event there, and depending on what kind of event it is, you pay a different fee.
Okay.
Rather than charge everyone the non-resident fee or everyone the resident fee, just to sort of level it out, they just charge a different fee.
What throws me off is the part that says half the fee the school collects. Tracy, do you know if the school...
They will usually ask for $1 or $2, but not every kid pays.
Okay.
Not every kid can afford to pay. So what they usually collect is what they collect. And that usually goes back to the PTO, because PTO usually pays for field trips.
Thank you.
I'm interested to know why we raised that fee for school children, but didn't raise the fee for residents and non-residents for regular entry fees. I'm just interested to know, because it's only $1 and $3, so it's not like it's going to make a huge difference.
Does anyone remember that? Verla's not here, so I'm kind of at a loss
She
on.
recommended it.
Yeah, I know she did.
I worked on the ordinance language on all the parks, and part of that was the fee structure, but Verla wrote what she wanted, and that's what's in PAC will be coming to so the basis, I don't know behind it.
Okay, I was just wondering.
So good question for your second reading. We'll make sure Verla's here.
And then you said if you had more time, you'd be able to go through and possibly find additional revenue. When you went through this, did you compare like Topsom and Lewiston and Sabattis, or?
Well, I looked at Freeport because I'm so familiar with their fee structure. And the folks in the room were, I think, focused on Lewiston, Auburn area for comparables.
Okay.
But again, our goal was to make sure that the general taxpayer didn't subsidize any of these fees. If a business comes in and needs to get licenses or permits, they ought to pay for those. It shouldn't be the general taxpayer paying a portion of that. That's just my own philosophy.
Looking under the buildings and construction section, some of those are pretty big increases, and I'm
page is that?
shocked that we haven't done this beforehand, or at least looked at it. How much more time would you think the new manager and staff would need to really dig in and find additional revenue that you had talked about?
Oh, gosh. I have a feeling when the new manager gets here, she's going to be overwhelmed for a while.
Oh, come on.
Why would you say that?
So, having said that, they possibly could take a deeper look at this by January 1st.
Should be low on the totem pole.
I think she's going to have her hands full.
I think it might be a good thing. I think you bring up a good point, Dylan. But it might be a good thing to focus again on our next budget, or to continue to look at, maybe within the departments during the upcoming year, so that we can point at new changes.
I'll add this to the list of issues to discuss with the new manager.
Did you need another binder for that?
No.
I could give you one. School's done in a week.
Yeah, I've got a couple of questions on the first part of it, where the administrative section. It's actually goes on to page 2. The council meetings, computer-generated, hard drive retrieval goes from 15 to 30, and the dog owner list, computer-generated, goes from 25 to 100. Is that really $100 of expense to compile a computer-generated list? Is it?
It takes quite a while.
Really?
quite a while.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and then she wants them printed on labels,
Yeah.
and so, yeah.
Okay, so it does take a significant time investment to do that.
Yeah, I think it's a program that's not easily
Yeah.
retrievable.
Okay, it sounded like something that you could print off, push of a button.
But then you have to take out all the confidential information as well.
Mhm.
So it's a better retracting.
It takes a lot of staff time.
Retracting time in there.
The other one, while we're under administrative, the one-sided copies and two-side copies, 50 cents for one and 75 cents for another. I think that seems a little high for printing off pages.
Yeah, I didn't think we increased those.
We didn't.
No, but I'm just saying, is that normal to be that high? 'Cause I'll print stuff for people.
Yeah, that was my experience when I managed. We really, in Freeport, we didn't want people coming in using Town Hall as a printing station. There are places you can go to get printing done. So we set the fee high enough to discourage folks from coming in asking for us to make copies. I mean, they could go to the local Rite Aid or other places and get it for 15 to 20 cents.
But it's low enough so if they're here and they need a copy of something, it's convenient and...
Right.
Okay. Can you, some of the columns, Dale, are empty, like on page 7, 6 and 7, we see current and then a blank column. Is that, look, if you look on page 6 under sewers, appeals to the Board of Sewer Appeals, are they supposed to go in the next column over?
I missed part of this meeting, so I'm having to get some help here. Apparently, those were not looked at during the meeting.
Okay.
So
I didn't want to assume so.
in the time we had allocated for this project, we didn't get to those.
So these are a good place to start. Good. Okay.
Was that the wrong answer?
Not completely. I just wanted
Twyla gave me the answer, so.
I just wanted to clarify that we didn't spend our time updating those because those fees or revenues are part of the sewer budget. So there would be no impact to what you need to vote on for the general fund budget. So we opted to focus our attention to the general fund, knowing that we would get to these when the time came.
All right, thank you. I know, Dale, that one of the first things when you came on board with us, that I chatted with you about, was when you brought up to me the huge difference in the fee schedule we have and what most other places have. And I can see a huge difference in the subdivisions built in the building areas. So we definitely still have a lot of work to do looking at this. Any further questions from council on this? So let's go through. We have the corrections. We have the, we've removed insufficient checks from the fee schedule because we don't need it anymore.
Is that correct?
Okay, because we can,
That is outsourced now, so we no longer collect a fee. It's a third-party agent that collects.
okay. Any questions from council on the changes in language? There are a few, there aren't an awful lot. For instance, I notice on the fee schedule for special amusement, under special amusements, that there's a $75 fee that's going to go up to a $100 fee, and then additional processing fee for each new applicant, partner, or officer. Those sorts of things. These all make sense to me, so I don't know if other councilors have questions about them.
It's Verla.
Oh, there's Verla. Can we steal Verla from, okay. Hi, Verla. Sorry to snag you as soon as you walk in, but I think you know this answer right off the top of your head, so.
Right, that's why you stopped.
We're looking at the fee schedules, and the question was why we see that some of the fees for the park are changed, but we noticed that the individual fees for residents and non-residents haven't increased, and we're just looking for the whys and wherefores, just so we can make sure everybody knows.
Well, the entrance fees, $1 per person per day for residents, and $3 for non-residents didn't change. It's difficult to collect that. You know, a lot of it's on the honor system. I do have somebody who's helping out at the gate. So we didn't change that. But some of the other fees, like the, I don't have it in front of me, and it's been a while since I looked. Which ones did you have in mind?
Well,
the
you had-
school fees, the
your
sports
school trip
teams,
fees and stuff like that.
The sport, we charge a group rate for schools that are from out of town, and the group rate is $2 per person. If there's 8 or more people, the group fee is $2. So for a school coming from Bath, I charge $2 per person. If it's a Lisbon school, we didn't used to charge Lisbon schools, but they would ask the kids to bring $1, and then they would keep it. So we decided if they're going to ask the kids to bring $1 to come Beaver Park, then we should at least get half of that. And that's how that came about. With the sports teams, we were asking $20 a team, but now we've increased it, I think it was to, is it $35? It's not a big increase, but it would help. A lot of the sports teams that come to the park, they're you know, they pay anyway. The kids, if it's a LJL or whatever, the kids have to pay to join those teams, and it does take our time to prepare trails and mow the fields and fertilize fields, and and keep the park up for them so they can enjoy it. So I didn't think that was an unreasonable fee increase. We tried to make it fair and, you know, and still increase it. Any other, is there anything specific other than that?
I think my main question or concern is asking to raise the fee for, it appears, the school sport teams and then practice teams, I believe.
If they come in and practice, then it's $5 per team.
Yeah,
They
but
use the
where
field
I'm going
one
with
time.
it is it looks like we're raising them for that, but when we go to the residents and non-residents, we're not raising those. And you think it's because you don't have, it's hard to collect it. But I think $1 and $3 is very low to go into the park. And I don't know if it raised a little bit, that would help offset with the people that are not honest with dropping off their money. Because I don't know what $1 and $3.
You're making somebody who's honest pay for someone who's dishonest.
But I mean, $1 and $3 is very low.
They cannot go to a movie for that.
How much is the state park fee?
Some parks are $250. I brought that information with me. Some are $250 per person. They have different rates if you're 12 and under. White's Beach is a different fee than Bradbury. They average around $250, but they have somebody at the gate collecting that all the time. And we're a small park. We encourage people. We want people to use it. We want people to come to the park. If we start charging too much, they're probably not going to want to come. It's for a family. It was never meant to make money for the town. It was meant to provide a recreation service for a lot of low-income people. And
what?
If you want me to increase it, that's fine, but you're going to have to help me collect it.
Well, let me ask. When was the last time it was raised? When did it change from whatever it was before to $1, or has it ever changed?
It's changed. When I first came, no, the $1 and $3 has never changed in 30 years.
Okay.
The family pass went for a resident from 10 to 15, probably 15, 20 years ago. Other than that, it stayed the way it is. When I see people who come to the park, I collect that $1 from them. $1 per person. You have 2 kids, it's $4. If you're from Lisbon, if you're from out of town, it's $12. If we could do it in a way to encourage them to purchase the park pass, but it's not a lot, but it is. It's hard to collect it.
Well, this is, and I'm sort of playing devil's advocate because I appreciate that it's an affordable place and a beautiful place for families to go. And I think, to me, $1 was a lot more 10, 15, or 20 years ago than it is now. And people think nothing of buying their $3 cup of coffee, their $8 pack of cigarettes, and so forth. So I think that it's not so much we need the money, but if 80 people paid $2 instead of $1, you have doubled your revenues to help take care of the park. Not necessarily to raise money or make money, but to help manage the park more efficiently. And so I think it could be argued that $2 today is what $1, I think $5 today is what $1 was 30 years ago. So I think it's just a matter of keeping things in perspective.
I think if you want it to work, I think what we need to do is increase the per person day fee enough to encourage them to buy the family park pass. And that can be raised. It's only $15. Raise that to $20 or $25, but increase the day use fee so it encourages them to purchase that pass rather than pay the day use fee. That eases it up for me. Once the passes are sold, I don't have to deal with it. And it makes it a better deal for them.
About how many passes do you sell a year?
About 250. It's, that's about what we sell now. And we average about $8,500 a year at $1. And and $3 a person. So, I mean, I'm not opposed to raising it. I was just trying to make it so we didn't discourage people from coming to the park, because we want to encourage it. And I wanted to make it reasonable for me to be able to collect it. I'm not there at the gate a lot anymore. I'm out in the gardens and around town a lot. A lot of it's on the honor system. I find candy bar wrappers in the box. I find spent lottery tickets in the box. The other day I found a needle in the box. So it's, and then I've got that person who comes in, gives me $10. They've got 3 people in the car, they don't want their change. So you have those people, but then you have the people who are going to do everything they can to avoid paying the $1. So, and the only way we can collect it is if I have somebody at the gate when they come in. So, and we just got a gatehouse from the transfer station, and I have a lady that sits there for a couple hours a day, and one weekend she collected $200 one day. Next day she collected $200. Very nice, warm, hot, sunny days. I wouldn't have collected that if I had been there by myself, running in and out. So there's some benefits that way.
I know the Gray Animal Park, my mother helps out there, and all the ones that work at the front gate, at least they have been, are volunteers. People go in, they volunteer.
I'm trying to get some volunteers to help.
And there's always somebody manning the gate, and people always go
Yeah.
through, so it's always being collected. I don't know if you ever put the word out to try to get volunteers, if volunteers would sit there and...
Well, I've been trying to get the...
senior citizens have done
Right.
that. Just volunteered their time, and they sit there a few hours.
And I was thinking, volunteer, if you put in 40 hours, they'll give you a park pass for the year, incentives like that. Some days, like today, it wasn't really hot and sunny out, so it wasn't really busy. And if somebody come in, and they're not going to just want to sit there. So it's hard. It's I don't know. It's a hard call. And I really don't want to discourage people from coming, so...
Might be a good partnership with the school department, because I know some kids have to have volunteer hours, so I'm not sure if you've...
We're also dealing with money, and we have...
Well, they deal with money for school events, too.
Right, but if they're I think there's a labor law, and if somebody's going to is underage and they're collecting money, I think there has to be an adult there. There has to be somebody there, and I want somebody at the gate, so I don't have to be there. If I'm there, I don't need anybody at the gate.
Just have to look into it, that's all.
So, but I think it'd be great to get more volunteers.
Is this your call for volunteers?
Anybody wants to volunteer. Public, volunteer, come to Beaver Park.
Thank you
If you
very
pass.
much, Verla.
So, but, the groups, and those have been underfunded, and renting the shelter and things like that, and, those really should be increased.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I know Dennis is here, if anyone has any questions for him about the fees under his department. Still a lot to look at. I think this is a good start. Do we have anyone on council want to move in a certain direction?
I would like to see the copy fees reduced to maybe like 25 cents for one side and maybe 35 cents or 40 cents for a two-side. And it would still give the incentive for someone to go to the local Rite Aid or whatever it may be, because if they're charging 15 to 20 cents, that's my 2 cents worth.
So to reduce from what it was before?
Mm-hmm. I just think that's a lot of money for a piece of paper.
Twyla, do you do you know about how many copies you guys make a year, about how much you,
Jessica can probably help you.
Jessica?
It's in her budget line. Revenues.
Bear with me 1 minute, please. A lot of papers here today. Where'd it go? I can't tell you exactly how many copies, but what I can tell you is, oh, here it is. I turned it sideways. I mean, you usually only bring in around $400 for the town, on the town side for copies at the town office. And then the library, under the same fees, has about 800, because people go there more for that type of service than they do here at the town office. So it's not...
Excuse me, we charge 10 cents a copy.
Oh, is it 10 cents?
Yes.
I apologize. So at 10 cents, they bring in $800, and at 50 cents, we bring in $400. It's not common practice. It's primarily more just, you know, faxes, because people have to fax their insurance card. And it's more than just the paper. You're talking the cost of toner and ink for the machinery. And paper's expensive. It's over $60 a case. So it's not cheap. And 50 cents really, we've never had anybody squawk at the counter for 50 cents.
thank you.
Now,
Go ahead.
the bottom line was, we was trying to get $35,000 savings, correct?
And this is 21 of it?
And this is 21, we was looking for 35, and this is just an estimate. This is, we're guessing that we might get this, we might not.
Did you guess on the high, low, or medium side?
We guessed on the low side. We always budget on the low side, frankly. And Jessica, you can explain where the other, well, I missed the portion of the meeting where you talked about the other adjustments. So you can sort of explain where the other
Sure.
15 or 20,000 is coming from.
I can. I increased the interest and costs on taxes by $7,000. There was an adjustment with code enforcement. I put $20,000 in for revenues for our contract with Sabatis, but you'll see an offsetting increase in expense for $18,200. So you have to wash that together. We also adjusted for the updated budget with animal control and dispatch based on their current budgets. It's a percentage based to the other surrounding communities that partake in those services, so we adjusted those. As well as increasing some of the recreation fees as well. And that's primarily
And
where
what's
the rest
total?
is coming from.
I'm sorry.
We came right around to 35,000, and again, it's subjective to how many actually comes in, so, and uses the service.
You mentioned animal control and dispatch. Is there an increase, a projected increase for revenue for animal control?
It's based off of the budget, so the budget increase, so the fees to the surrounding communities that use that service increases, because they pay off of the budget as presented.
Okay, and then what about dispatch?
Same thing. It's based off of the current year budget.
So other communities are having an increase in the dispatch service?
They'll have an increase in what they pay us, because we have an increase in our expense to provide the service.
Okay.
Yep.
So we have a couple of suggestions. If and anyone jump in.
I was going to propose an increase to the park fees, but I'm not, because next year with Diane, I believe I would like to enter into discussions with Diane, a new town manager, on doing some other things that may increase revenue a lot more. So,
Want to add that to Dale's book?
we've discussed it.
Okay.
Well, I'll say what I don't like is I think a lot of this is impacting a lot of the taxpayers that are, well, there's going to be a tax freeze from the looks of it already. And a lot of this is just on top of it, we're hitting citizens with more. That's, I'm not a big fan of it, I guess. I understand some of the fees have to go up. I do understand that, and it's not all to the taxpayers, but
I don't disagree with you, Eric, because I see a few places where it's really obvious that there's a big chunk of a difference. Having lived in other towns before my almost decade and a half of moving to Lisbon, a lot of the places I see zeros or very low fees, so it looks like they've gone up a lot. I think it's what people expect
I know there's some
to
that
pay.
needs to go up. I understand that, but some of it's substantial. I would have liked to have more time to go over it.
Well, this is only the
It's the
first
first
reading.
reading, so
Yeah.
we'll get more input and come back for our next meeting if there's things we need to amend.
So if we could just make a clear list of what items we want to take a look at, or what sorts of subjects. We have, just starting on page 1, Counselor Pesky suggested we take a look at the cost of copies. And then we also had the question of the park fees that went in both directions. And I think those were the two specific items. Then, in general, taking a closer look at the, maybe Eric, if we take a closer look at the fees that directly affect individual residents, maybe we could take a look at those.
What would those be?
I think, well, for instance,
Potentially, every fee here affects a resident.
right,
If you're applying for a subdivision, and you're a resident, then it would affect you. If
Right.
you're a non-resident, it wouldn't.
Right.
does council want to have a workshop, maybe a 45-minute workshop, maybe even add it on to a meeting at some point along the way, or maybe for a quick evening to discuss the fee schedule in greater depth?
We can do that, because I would like to talk to some of the people that I know that are in the building practices, and I know that they think that, or have told me that the fees in Lisbon Falls are, or town of Lisbon are less than anywhere else. So I would like to talk to them about getting their ideas on raising the fees. I kind of figure I know what they're going to say, a lot of them. But
Okay. Eric, do you think you'd like a workshop?
I would say I'd like to table it and have a workshop.
In between the now and the second reading?
Yes, that's what I would like.
We can go through the first reading and then have a workshop and then change everything to the second reading.
Can we do that?
They have to be within so many days of each other, we can check that out.
Yeah, if you could check that for us, but I think we're coming to a little bit of a quieter season, so we might be able to squeeze it in. If not on a Tuesday, then maybe a Thursday, or another day of the week that we can get a majority to get together and discuss the fee schedule.
So if we did pass the first reading, if we come back for our second reading, we can then make amendments at that point and still go forward with it?
Yes.
Okay.
Would a workshop next week at 6:30 work?
Sure.
Right before the council meeting?
Yeah, then you can workshop before you have your second reading.
Does that work for everybody else?
Yeah, sure.
Chris?
Put it on my phone.
Okay. So we now, Twyla, we still have to,
After you take a motion, you can set a public hearing.
okay. So we are looking for a motion to accept the first reading of the amended fee schedule.
I'll second that motion. I'll make
Well,
the
somebody
motion.
has to make that.
I'll make it. I'll make it.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Let's do a roll call.
Oh, I'm sorry, thank you.
Okay.
Yep.
Counselor Garrison's not here, so we'll start with Counselor Bickford.
Yes.
Counselor Pesky?
Yep.
And Counselor Ward?
Yes.
And Counselor Mativier?
Yes.
And Counselor Brunel?
Yes.
And Counselor Lund?
Yes.
6-0, it passed. First reading. And you'd like to set the public hearing at the next council meeting?
Yes.
Right, 6:30.
Okay.
Okay, and the next item, please, Twyla.
Order 2014-110, MDOT agreement for trail amendment.
All right. I think you're on, Ryan.
Wasn't sure, because Dale has to sign it, so. We did, can't remember how this started initially, but we did have the memo that was given to you last week regarding the, trying to break down the additional trail matching funds and what was needed so we could complete the trail project. And I did misspeak earlier during audience participation. The $30,000 that we'd be raising locally would actually give us $120,000 from other entities. 80,000 of that would come from the ATRC, which is the local metropolitan planning organization made up of Lewis and Auburn, Lisbon, Sabatis, MDOT, and AvCog people, and they voted on, and actually in two separate meetings, to approve a total of $80,000. The first time we asked, they approved 40, and then they approved another 40. So, and then DOT was able to come up, I don't know where they come up with their money, but they came up with another $40,000 as well. So, and our match for that total, $150,000, would be $30,000. And that's what we've been asked. I believe in your packet was the copy of the modification number 4 to a local project agreement with MDOT, and Dale needs to be able to sign that. And so we're here asking permission to be able to move forward with that.
So 30,000 from us, and they give us 150.
120.
120, I'm sorry.
Yes. Yeah, it's...
That's mostly to finish the trail, correct? Not,
That is
the sidewalk is only a portion of that.
That is to finish the trail, build the sidewalk to the pump station, and there's some improvements, some additional improvements that we've identified during the construction that we wanted to take care of. So there's some additional project costs for the trail project currently under construction.
Is that because you guys ran into road bumps you didn't expect?
Yeah, there was, I mean, there's, every project is, the budget at the very beginning, don't know how much you really want to get into this, but the project started in 2010, and it was, I mean, we finally got to doing construction in 2013, and then, you know, the design didn't really change a whole lot in that 3-year period. And then you get out into the, but the cost went up. So our budget was originally estimated in 2009, and here we are in 2014, and the budget ended up being pretty tight to begin with, and then we didn't have a whole lot of room for any unforeseen stuff. There's been some areas where the ground, some of the areas we had to go through, I mean, we had unsuitable materials we had to remove and put in extra gravel that we didn't anticipate. There was areas that were by a significant vernal pool that we had to avoid, and again, the same deal. I mean, the more they dug, the more muck they were pulling out, so we had to use more materials to be able to put it back together. The budget breakdown was on the 3rd sheet, I believe, of your handout. Kind of explained where some of the budget overages were. And there's 2 locations that we haven't given approval for because we wanted to see where we stood with funding. But one was culvert replacement, as well as some improvements to a drainage slope. And then there was a steep slope that we didn't realize it till we started uncovering it. It was mostly gravel by the Knights of Columbus. And that area we wanted to stay. It was called for to be stabilized just with loom, but the contract is not certain that that's ever going to stay and be a maintenance problem for us in the future. So their recommendation was riprap, and that's, you know, more expensive. So it's some of these additional costs that we had to take care of.
While I was preparing for this meeting over the weekend, I took a drive down Davis Street just to take a look at it and see what a sidewalk would be like in that area. Towards the end of the road, I should say the beginning of the road by Miller's, some of those houses or trailers are extremely close to the road as it is. Would the sidewalk be in the road, or would it be on that narrow piece of grass that they already have?
It's going to be a little bit of both. I'd have to pull out the design plans to be able to look at it specifically, but I believe that we will be all within the road right away as it is, and so wherever we have to fit it in, if we come into the road to try to provide separation from the homes, we can do that. But the idea is to be able to do this. Is to do it within the road right away. Mm-hmm. And the design plans didn't show any impact to the residents.
So no grass was going to just disappear?
I can't say that. We didn't ask to have any trailers moved.
Okay. Now, is there any other thing that could happen besides a sidewalk to make that separation for a pedestrian walking down the road? Probably not the person to ask. But.
Well, I think we're at the wrong. I mean, the issue is that we went through the whole process and we designed. I mean, the original design was for a sidewalk on Davis Street, and knowing that the budget was close, we ended up calling out the main bid, which was the trail to the intersection of Davis and Blethyn, and then a bid alternate, which was a sidewalk from Davis and Blethyn down to basically where the pump station is on Davis Street.
Okay.
So it was always been designed as a sidewalk, and I can't say based on where we are at this point if we looked at other alternatives. I just don't recall what the designer looked at. I think we always planned to do a sidewalk because that was what would fit in that area.
I think at a planning board meeting, I'm not sure that it was brought up about a white line going down the road to separate, and I believe somebody, even from the DOT, that would happen to be there, said that's not legal.
Okay.
So that's about what, that was a quick reference, so.
Yep.
I think in another direction, we know that the 196 committee and all the planning that's been happening for the past year or so, I think most of those plans include a sidewalk on that street, don't they?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. My main concern, I just didn't want to take away, I want to make sure someone still had a little bit of grass, because they don't have very much as it is, that's all.
I mean, and that's what, we can play with the alignment. We did it when we got to the boat launch. The boat launch, the concrete sidewalk that came under the bridge and then up into the parking lot was originally headed towards one of Verla's gardens, and we brought it a little bit further around so that we could avoid the birch trees that were there. So, we have that flexibility in some respects, and we can make sure that we deal with the contractor on that standpoint.
Great, thank you.
Contractor has agreed to hold the bid alternate pricing that he gave us back in, oh, Jesus, last May now. So, I mean, he's still going to provide the bid alternate work at the same price that he bid us last year, so that's good news as far as I'm concerned.
Good. Any more questions for Ryan? No? Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you.
We need further discussion from council?
I think we beat this to death for
Pretty
quite
much.
a while now.
Mhm.
Yep.
So I will look for a motion to accept the MDOT agreement for the trail amendment.
I'll make that motion.
And a second?
I'll second.
I have one last question. Would the 30,000 be in this coming year's budget?
Yes.
Okay.
And I would also ask that you include your motion authorization for the manager to sign the agreement,
Oh, okay.
just so it's clear that the manager has the authorization.
I'll make the motion to accept with the managers can sign the agreement.
With that amendment? Okay.
That's part of your whole motion, right?
Yes. Is this a roll call vote, Twyla? No? All those in favor?
Order passed, 6-0.
Do we have a second on that?
I did, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
Eric.
Yes, Eric did.
Next item, please, Twyla.
Is the resolution 2014-2015, adopt the municipal budget? Do you want to proceed with the departments 1, 2 through, again with Order 2014-111, General Government, Department 01, to adopt line 5100 for personnel services, $1,733,385, line 5200 for contractual services, $619,300, line 5300 for repair and maintenance and operating supplies for $78,750, line 5400 for capital purchases, $64,348, and line 5500 for lease purchases of $15,237, totaling $511,020 for the general government budget.
Do we need discussion? Council? Okay.
There was, because I wasn't here for the last meeting, I know the Finance Committee had asked the school department if they could come up with $166,000 in savings. Did anything ever become of that?
Do we know if anything? Tracy, do you know anything about that?
Yeah, I don't believe the council discussed that at workshop.
It was in one, I got it from an email, that I know the Finance Committee had asked for it, and I didn't hear anything about it.
Yeah, I don't, my recollection is the council never discussed that
Okay, I
portion
wasn't
of the
here, so that's why I
recommendation.
was asking.
We didn't
The
discuss it.
Finance Committee suggested it, but there was no directive given by council.
Correct.
Okay, so we are looking for, and this is just for the, we're going section by section, correct?
So,
Now, I have a question, a procedural question here. If we adopt some sections, but other sections are not adopted, do those sections go into effect and the other sections are the manager's budget as presented, or is the whole thing?
The whole thing has to pass.
Whole thing has to
If you look
pass.
at the charter, it talks about the budget as a whole.
Okay.
If the budget wasn't to pass, or a section was not to pass, it'd be what you have put forward for the month of July, correct?
Well, if any portion of the budget fails, you haven't adopted a municipal budget, because the charter doesn't permit you to adopt sections and not others. So if the council were to fail to adopt a budget this evening, my budget of record would become the budget for the town on a month-to-month basis. So my budget would be the budget for the month of July, and that would continue until the council adopts a budget. So, and I sent out an email today just cautioning you that we have built in certain payroll cuts and certain revenue streams into my proposed, into the council budget that's before you, but not part of the manager's budget. So if the budget is not adopted this evening, those payroll reductions and revenue increases would not go into effect on July 1. And since there's about $120,000 in both revenue, payroll reductions and revenue increases for every month that the council does not adopt a budget, you're going to lose about $10,000 a month of those revenues and reductions in budget. So, in other words, if you don't adopt a budget tonight, it's going to be a greater challenge going forward because the numbers only get worse, not better.
Unless we find savings elsewhere.
Correct.
Now, do we still have to, even though that, so do we still have to vote on line by line by line by line, even though it, or can we just vote on the whole thing altogether?
I would I'd prefer that we take a look at voting section by section, only so that we're individually clear on which sections, if it doesn't pass, which sections we specifically have to look at. I think that it would give us direction in that sense.
Twyla?
So the next thing is
I
to...
have read a motion, and if you would like to make that, it would be a motion for Order 2014-111A, General Government, Department 01, adopting $2,511,020 totaling the general government budget, and the line items are broken down that you have in your packets.
Do we have a counselor to make the motion to accept the Department 1 General Government?
I'll make that motion.
And a second. As chair, I traditionally do not make a motion or second one, but it's still within my view to do that if I wish, so I will second that motion.
Motion's been made and seconded.
Does this need to be roll call?
It doesn't need to be, only ordinances do, but traditionally you have done that. If you'd like, you could. It just needs to be requested by one counselor. I'm not sure my microphone's working.
Does any counselor...
I don't think we need a roll call vote.
Okay.
I think we can just
I'm
vote.
okay with a general vote. Okay. All those in favor of accepting the general government section of the proposed budget? All those in favor?
Who are the two? Okay.
Roger and Lisa. And opposed? And the...
Could I offer just a point of order?
Yes.
Since you've defeated a portion of the budget, that means no matter what action you take from this point on, it's moot.
Right.
So I'm not sure where you want to go from here, because I'm not hearing any councilors who are in opposition proposing any amendments. So I think you need to talk about a path forward before you waste any more time on any other items.
I think it would be advantageous to us to look at each as a group and get a council consensus on which other, I'd hate to go back to budget discussions, come to another meeting to accept, and then find out the second one didn't pass, and then the third one. I'd like to take a look at those in general and see where councilors, even if it's just through general consensus, what other sections of the budget individual councilors would like to look at. We can open discussion for that, can't we?
Well, I think you can proceed any way you'd like, but I'm not understanding this process. I've been through 37 budgets, and typically, when budgets are discussed and debated, if councilors have amendments, they put them on the table for discussion, and that's not happening tonight, and I'm confused. Why isn't it happening?
So what you're actually asking, just to clarify for myself and others,
Just trying to
is
understand Lisbon's process.
if this general government section of the budget has not been accepted, then you need direction on where to make the changes, and you would like to know where it needs to be amended. Is that what you're asking?
Well, I think the ball's in the council's court. I think you're adopting the budget. You have to decide where the changes need to be made, make the changes, and move on.
Say something? Me and Lisa are willing to accept the budget the way it is, so anybody that has any recommendations, they better speak up.
I just think overall, the tax increase is too much, and there's probably several places, and we could be here a long time tonight discussing where to cut, but I just think taxpayers are paying too much, and I think we need to find better ways to cut back.
Yeah, I had a couple of suggestions that I have for where we can make cuts. One, I'm sure the chief won't be happy with me, but I'd say take the police department cruiser out of there. That's $10,000, and they can pay for it out of the money from the drug bust there. If they feel there's a need for it, it's their choice. They have the money in the account. And another one would be the 196 grant match that we have $50,000 in there right now, and we're told that we need to have the money to have the grant, but I think we could put $25,000 in there, and then if a grant actually comes through and we need the other money, we can appropriate $25,000 from undesignated surplus rather than leave $50,000 sitting in an account, and we may not get a grant, so we just wasted that money sitting in an account for a year rather than in the taxpayer's pocket. That would save right there $35,000 that I'm looking for.
Do you have any suggestions, Councilor Brunel?
Not at this time, I don't.
I'm sorry, you had to step away, Councilor Pesky, but I'm just looking for input for the town manager's office on specifically where to make amendments, so that when we go back to those discussions, the town manager's office has direction. And I've just gone through individuals to see what input.
Well, as I said before, my biggest piece is a staffing level assessment of what I would like to see of our town, to see where we are overstaffed, where we're understaffed, and go from there. So I don't know if there is a company out there that you can pay, like we did for hiring a new town manager. And it'd be an outside eyes coming in and taking a look. I'm not sure, but that's where I'd like to go.
I think the firm you use to hire a manager would be a firm that would provide that type of service.
And I think that finishes that. Next item, Twyla.
Did you want to go to other business, or did you want to go to Department 2? I'm not sure what you meant.
No, we're going to go to other business. I think
Okay.
it's
Right.
pretty well established.
Other business is none, so the next item would be audience participation for new items.
This includes items not on the agenda. Do we have anyone who would like to speak?
Dr. Fitzgerald again. I've been to all of the budget meetings, workshops, council meetings, and everything. I think the council really just did a speed thing through the budget. The council was charging the different department heads to come up with $35,000 in savings. and yet you buy a vehicle, it comes with a warranty. I don't know a lot about the truck warranties and things
Excuse me,
like
Dawn.
that.
I'm
Yet
sorry,
this
I don't
is
mean to
not-
interrupt. This is for new business.
Well, this is kind of new business and old business. This was new business, and the truck thing came up after we were able to speak. And you were charging the different department heads to come up with $30,000, $35,000 in savings, and yet you approve a $5,000 warranty. I don't know if it was really, really necessary. You already increased the budget by $5,000 before you even started.
I would like to remind the audience that this is for new business that was not on the agenda and has not been addressed this evening. Mr. Neto?
My name is Richard Nettle, Lisbon Falls. Last week, I thought the meeting was at 7 o'clock. I was going to bring something up, and you had it at 6. And I was also under the understanding that this would be on tonight's agenda. So it's not, so I'm going to bring this up, what I wanted to do. There's a new program in California started by a woman, and I believe it is San Francisco, and they approved it. And it deals with bicycles. They got a program that's called Bait Bike. And what they do is they put on the head tube of the bike, that's the front part, they put Bait Bike. And they have a chip, and they can track the chip. Not every bike has it. But as far as the crook knows, or if somebody's going to steal it, he don't know that. It only takes a second to cut a cable off a bike. Now maybe a program like this would stop some of this stuff. I know going after bicycles, the police department, that is probably on their lowest agenda. And, you know, but somebody that has an expensive bike, and I'm an example here too, and I had an expensive bike, and this would more affect those kinds of bikes. Now, I called Auburn, and I talked with, I think it was Sergeant Cheney, and they have a program up there they just approved, but it uses, instead of GPS, it uses a radio transmitter on a person that has Alzheimer's. And like he said, if you were to do this with a bike, it would be too big and it would get broke. So and you'd have to put a bracelet on a person's ankle, the caregiver. And I won't go too much further than that. Because I also called the mayor of Lewiston. And I got a phone call from him. And they don't really have a program, but he told me to get a hold of a guy named Settlemore. And he said he was always advocating this. And he might have meant Seymour, but I'm not sure on that, because he did said Settlemore quite a few times. I could never find the guy. I thought he was in the police department. I also called the Bicycle Coalition of Maine and talked with a guy named Zach. And I told him I would call him back as far as what happened here tonight. And I'd like to see a program.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but I did talk with you about that after our last meeting.
Yeah.
And I asked the manager's office to make copies of your notes and research that you had done for us.
Mm-hmm.
And that will be done. This is just a meeting in between meetings, so that will be taken up at our next council meeting.
Mm-hmm.
So we didn't forget about it. We're just putting it on our next regular meeting.
All right, I mean, the only thing is, I mean, the weather's pretty good right now. If the weather's inclement, I'll be walking up here, and I'm just not, if the weather's bad, I'm just not going to come up, because I don't drive,
Okay.
as most people do. So, I mean,
We'll discuss it whether you're here or not, and we do have your notes and your contact information.
Yeah.
And we do appreciate the large amount of research that you did looking into this, and
Yeah.
we'll definitely take a look. I asked the town manager's office to share the information with
Yeah.
all the counselors for you.
the only thing I wanted to say, in the notes, I put a bone shaker. That's the slang word for a bicycle. And there's another word that means both. It comes from the northern England English, and it comes from the Scot, which is baith, which means both. So if there's any problem reading it, you'll know what it means.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Neto. Do we have anyone else who would like to speak on non-agenda items? Okay, next item, Twyla?
I think you've covered council response to new items. So under appointments, Order 2014-112, confirm appointment of assessor.
Okay,
Effective July 1st.
Effective July 1st.
Right.
and that will be the new town manager.
No,
Am
this is my, I've discussed with
Oh.
the council in past budget workshops.
Right, okay.
This would be appointing Kathy as the assessor.
That's right, okay. So we'll appoint her and have that effective July 1st. Okay. Do we have a motion to confirm? Well, what's her last name?
Malloy.
Malloy, okay.
Can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
I'm just curious, because in the manager's budget that has not been adopted, it's status quo, which is current assessor.
Well, the manager's
And-
budget doesn't need adoption. It
Okay, I didn't know if it needed, from a wage standpoint and a appropriation standpoint, that's not what's in the manager's portion of the budget.
I understand that.
Okay.
Actually, in the
I just want to make sure we were okay.
but in the manager's portion of the budget, there's more money in the budget than we actually
Yes.
need. That'll
Yep.
be a cut that will not be made
Okay.
as a result of council non-action.
Okay, I just wanted to
So
make
we can
sure
move
we're all set.
forward and
Perfect. Thank you, sorry.
Okay.
I had the same question.
Okay, so we'll look for a motion to confirm the appointment of Kathy Malloy as tax assessor beginning July 1st.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Order passed, 6-0.
Next item, please, Twyla.
congratulations, Kathy.
Thank you
And
for
thank
taking
you.
on the duty.
Council communications?
Anything?
I think we need to get a budget passed at some point, so we need to have some workshops and get something done here quick within the next month. Whatever we're going to do, we've got to have something, otherwise it's going to end up being a worse situation than what we had to vote on tonight, so don't have a lot of time here.
Just so the public understands, the town's not without a budget. The manager's budget is the budget of record until the council takes action. So the town does have a budget. It's just not a council budget.
All right, if nobody has anything. Next item, Twyla.
Order to adjourn.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that.
Second it.
All those in favor?
Order passed, 6-0.
August.
You don't need
Not if
more
people
than
don't
one
open their
signed copy,
mouths.
do you? Where's it?
It's a horse that you guys have trotted down an aisle before. But what about offering firework permits with regulations for like weddings and graduations, just big events, rather than